Yes. Here we are again. Cannabis News with Joe Klare, September 7th, 2018. Presented as always by the Marijuana Times. Check us out at marijuanatimes.org and click the video tab there to find this show. Of course, you can also check out all the other great articles, our social media links, and more. marijuanatimes.org. You should go check it out and share the stories on there, obviously, as well. Today, we're talking about the VA and medical cannabis and a new bill in the Senate that could change the way the VA talks to veterans about cannabis. Also, some medical marijuana news and an update out of Texas. And, of course, we'd be remiss if we did not talk about the cultural event of the century that happened last night on the Joe Rogan podcast with Elon Musk. Talk about all that coming up. But first, of course, cannabis news brought to you by NatureSide, nature-side.com. Side is spelled C-I-D-E. Check out the organic, all-natural pesticides at NatureSide. They're a proud sponsor of the show. You don't use harmful chemicals on what you are growing. That is why you want some NatureSide, nature-side.com. Be regulatory compliant in the state that you're growing in, of course, as well. Don't use harmful chemicals. Grow safe and poison-free. Do all of that with NatureSide. They're awesome. Go check them out. This first story is from Julia Granowitz of marijuanatimes.org. The Senate introduced a bill to allow VA doctors to recommend medical cannabis. It was introduced this week. It's called the Veterans Medical Marijuana Safe Harbor Act, sponsored by Senators Bill Nelson and Brian Schatz. It would make it federally legal for Veterans Affairs physicians to recommend medical marijuana in states where it is legal. Justin Streekel, political director for NORML, said, quote, the Veterans Medical Marijuana Safe Harbor Act would provide crucial medical and civil protections for men and women who put their lives on the line to serve this country. It is unconscionable that these brave individuals who protect our nation's freedoms will be treated as criminals when they return home just for treating their medical ailments with a safe and effective option. Of course, a point I've made many times and a point that many people have made. We ask so much of veterans and so much sacrifice ostensibly for this country, and then when they come back and they want to smoke a joint because they have PTSD and they have nightmares and they can't sleep or they can't eat or they have pain from the various ailments and injuries that they've sustained and disabilities that they've incurred fighting for this country, and then we say, no, you want to smoke a joint at home? No, you can't do that. No. Go take these pills. Here's a handful of pills. They're going to make you groggy and have many, many side effects. Go just take them every day and, don't bother us with that medical marijuana mumbo jumbo. Insane stuff. Hopefully this legislation will go a long way towards eliminating that and just allowing veterans, if they want to use medical marijuana, to use medical marijuana. That's controversial. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't seem controversial to me, and I don't think it's just because I have a bias, obviously, towards the pro-cannabis position. I think objectively it is not a controversial thing. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. Some people seem to think that I'm wrong quite a bit. I think they're wrong. So what do you think of that? This next story out of Texas, from TexasObserver.org. Reformers hopeful the 2019 legislature will expand Texas's medical marijuana law. As you know, right now, medical marijuana in Texas is the Texas Compassionate Use Act that was passed in 2015. Permits doctors to prescribe low-THC cannabis only to patients who suffer from intractable epilepsy and whose symptoms have not responded to federally approved drugs. That leaves about 345,000 Texans who have epilepsy don't qualify under that law. Veterans have testified at the Texas Capitol in recent years in support of expanding the law to cover PTSD, chronic pain, and other ailments for reasons we just talked about in the previous story. Last session, a majority of lawmakers in the House signed on to legislation that would have drastically expanded the legal medical uses of marijuana in Texas. After passing out of committee, the bill failed to reach the House floor for debate. Still, growing bipartisan support among voters and lawmakers has activists optimistic for 2019. Heather Fazio, coalition coordinator for Texans for Responsible Marijuana Policy, said, quote, conservatives throughout the state are seeing this as an issue of a matter of people. It's not about politics. In addition to making more conditions eligible, activists want to remove the law's relatively low cap on THC, add legal protections for doctors who prescribe it, and encourage cannabis research. It's a really good story about, if you want an update on Texas and what's going on with medical marijuana. I know some people in the comments on YouTube especially have asked about Texas. All the stories I talk about, of course, are linked in the description of this video. It's a long story. It covers a lot about what's going on in Texas and their hopes. A lot of people are optimistic about expanding and getting actual decent, I would dare say robust, but I would stay with decent medical marijuana law and decent medical marijuana access for those who need it in Texas. Representative Joe Moody, he also hopes for reduced criminal penalties for possession this year. He's a Democrat who serves as the chair of the House Criminal Justice Committee in Texas. Told the Observer that he plans to refile a version of last session's House Bill 81. That measure would make possession of 1 ounce or less of marijuana a civil offense, punishable by up to a $250 fine. So that'd be decriminalization covering not just medical reasons for it, but for having marijuana for any reason. No arrest, no jail time, no criminal record. Reads a Texans for Responsible Marijuana Policy Legislative Priorities packet handed out at a recent conference about cannabis in Texas. Currently, possession of up to 2 ounces is a Class B misdemeanor that can land a violator in jail for up to 6 months. More than 70,000 people are arrested each year for marijuana possession in Texas. That's the majority of drug arrests in the state, according to the Texas Criminal Justice Coalition. So if you live in Texas, get to calling your representatives, contacting them, your state senators, let them know that you back this and it's not just a fringe thing in Texas anymore, and get some medical marijuana expansion going for the likely millions of people who could use it in that state. Now, last but not least, of course, I'd be remiss, as I said, if I didn't mention the cultural event that dominated social media today. Elon Musk, head of Tesla and SpaceX and various other projects, he was on Joe Rogan's podcast, the Joe Rogan Experience, and this clip that I'm going to play you, I cut out of the show. It's over 2 hours into the podcast, into a 2.5-hour podcast. By this point, they've been drinking whiskey for about an hour and a half, talking about all kinds of things. But when the clip starts, and it's a great clip, it's linked. The whole show is linked in the description of this video. I would suggest going to check out the whole thing. Well, you may want to speed it up a little bit. Elon Musk comes across, I guess, it's a little weird. He's very deliberative with what he's saying. You can see he's thinking about things before he says them. There's a lot of, gaps of dead air that, the type of thing that radio people hate. But over a little over 2 hours into the podcast, they're talking about Neil deGrasse Tyson, and Joe Rogan is describing Neil deGrasse Tyson, who was recently on his show, talking about why Neil deGrasse Tyson doesn't have a cell phone case and why he never drops his phone. He does the same thing, the Marines do with their rifles, and the reason they never drop their rifles is because they're always flipping them around or whatever. So they're talking about that, and then they start talking about something on the table in front of them, and it's related to a blunt. And then Joe Rogan lights up a blunt. He says, hey, you probably can't do this, can you? Because, shareholders or whatever. And Elon Musk says, well, hey, it's legal, right? And I say, yeah, of course it is legal in California, in Pasadena or whatever they're filming, somewhere in the Los Angeles area. So that's basically the clip. Here's the clip from the Joe Rogan Experience on YouTube. Joe Rogan and Elon Musk discussing things and partaking of a blunt.
That's right.
He takes his phone and he flips it in between his fingers like a soldier would do with his rifle.
Really?
He just rolls that shit in between his fingers. Yeah,
okay.
Marvelous.
Wow.
He says that's the reason why they do it. He said, when you look at someone who has a rifle, why would they do that? Why would they flip it around like that?
Right.
So that when...
By the way, Joe Rogan's Neil deGrasse Tyson impression, it would be much like I would imagine his Barack Obama impression to be. I've seen both be very similar.
It goes to drop, they have it in their hand. They catch it quickly. So that's what he does with his phone. He's just flipping his phone around all the time. I got that in Mexico. I was hoping it holds joints.
Does it do anything? It seems to open.
No, it's just
a hole.
Just a hole.
You could store things in there.
But try to put a joint in there, close it. You could put one blunt. One. But it seems pretentious. That's the idea behind it. I bought it when I was in Mexico because I figured it would be a good size.
So we're talking about the blunt and this thing that Joe Rogan has on his table, for those of you who are not watching the video and only listening to the audio version. And so basically he pulls out the blunt at this point and lights it up. And, Elon Musk seems a little hesitant at first, but he quickly comes around.
To hold joints. Or not.
Rogan fires it up.
So is that a joint? Or is it a cigar?
No.
Okay.
It's marijuana inside of tobacco.
Oh, okay. So it's like pot tobacco posh.
You never had that?
Yeah, I think I tried one once.
Come on, man. You want some of that? You probably can't because of stockholders, right?
I mean, it's legal, right?
It's totally legal.
Yep.
Okay.
It's legal.
How does that work? Do people get upset at you if you do certain things? There's tobacco and marijuana in there. That's all it is.
He smells it. And then the big hit that
The combination of
all over
tobacco and
social media.
marijuana is wonderful. First turned on to it by Charlie Murphy, and then reignited by Dave Chappelle. There you go.
Plus whiskey.
Haha, exactly.
Perfect. Balances it out.
I mean,
I'm a firm believer in
alcohol
that.
is a drug. It's been grandfathered in.
Well, it's not just a drug. It's a drug that gets a bad rap. Because if you just have a little, it's great.
Fine.
Yeah, a little sip here and there, and your inhibitions are relaxed, and it shows your true self, and hopefully you're more joyous and friendly and happy, and everything's good.
So there you go. That's what dominated social media today. Joe Rogan, Elon Musk, and Joe Rogan's producer partaking of a blunt while drinking whiskey. A lot of people thought it was a big deal. It was cool. I mean, they're guys. They're not infringing on the rights of anyone. They're sitting around. They're having a good time. Who cares? But people were mad that they were drinking. People were mad that this guy smoked a blunt. He shouldn't be the CEO of major companies. Really? Well, I mean, how many CEOs get plastered all the time? How many drink on the daily? Drink wine daily? It's the big deal. Somebody wants to drink alcohol, let them do it. If they want to smoke a blunt, they do it. If they want to do both at the same time on a podcast, do it. Who cares? But man, people were going nuts today. This is all over the place. And there you have it. I report on the things people care about, and that's what people care about right now. Thanks, everybody, for checking out Cannabis News. Another week in the books. Go and enjoy your weekend. Thank you to nature-side.com and their sponsorship and their organic, all-natural pesticides. Thanks, everybody, for watching and listening, sharing and commenting and all that stuff. And we'll see you next week right here on Cannabis News.